Hello, folks. Welcome to the Spillin Pod. My name is Ben. That's Jesse. We're here. Let's do this thing. It's been a couple weeks. Jesse and I have seen each other since the last time we did this pod, right? I don't think we've done one since we came back from Orlando.
No.
And, we've reached what's silly season. Jesse is back in school. We're just perpetually busy over here, but
hmm
we're excited. The summer is a little bit slower sometimes in the sports world. We still have the W going on and we got baseball, but even though you can't feel it here in the Florida heat, the crispness of fall is approaching and we're
It's
ready to
coming.
talk some football and not long after that the NBA will be back, but we got a full slate of a week here. We were going to do this podcast last week and then for a couple different reasons we just didn't end up making it. It pretty much copy pastes
It
actually
really
pretty
is.
decently well here. I'm sure we'll add some stuff in here as we think of it. I mostly put my ads into the takeout, which might be meatier than usual because we have a few weeks of takes. But Jesse, without any further ado, why don't you get us going here with our first segment?
Oh man, before we get into that, I I need the crispness of fall to come upon us here. It is too hot. It's just way too hot
Dude, I
outside,
feel
man.
that.
I have been sweating my castañas off out here every single day and living in I got shy on that one.
Just Cheyenne laughing in the background.
I just living in Orlando. If you're not familiar, we don't get the coastal breeze that a lot of people associate with Florida. It is a dome over here, and it has been swamp city, I think, for a good 3 weeks now. We need a break. I think this morning I was like, man, it's feeling a little brisk. It's feeling a little chilly. It was 87 when I checked the temperature. It has been that kind of time, but like you said,
Dude, this
without
morning we had a morning thunderstorm this morning. I was watching lightning bolts across the sky as I drove into work. It didn't rain until after I got there. And I stepped out of my car and it felt was like, I don't know, like 82 because the winds were whipping
Mhm.
and like there was no sun whatsoever because the wrath of God was about to descend upon us. And I was like, damn, this feels nice.
I need a flannel. It's getting nice out here.
I was thankful. I was like, you know what? Do it. I'm inside. Storm. If it's gonna mean that like 45. I went to school in the South, right? I went to
Yeah.
Alabama,
Yeah.
and I used to say it didn't matter how close the two buildings I was walking to between classes were, but that I would need like a new T-shirt after
Oh
that
yeah.
like 45-second walk, and that's the heat that we've got right now here in Florida.
Alrighty. So our first segment, this is a new segment to the pod, and there's just a lot of stuff has happened. None of it really great, I think, since the last time we had an episode of the pod. This one is simply titled "What is wrong with you?" And I was excited for this one, for several reasons, but essentially, we rank what is wrong with people from the headlines of recent sporting news, and I have a scale for us to take a look at here. One is the head tilted confusion. The okay. Two is you're the main character. Three is go touch grass. Four is straight to jail, and five is send the asteroid. Society has fallen. We need to start over here.
And I've
So
dropped the key here in our chat, so those of you that are watching can follow along.
thank you so much for that. So really for this there was one, and I'll get to this later on, that was kind of the basis behind this one. Um, so Ben, why don't you take it away and introduce our first topic that we have on the list here?
Sure, even though I had to frantically Google it to be able to weigh in on it. So Nick Kyrgios, I'm sure I nailed that name there.
That's what I would
Pretty
have said.
well known, pretty well known tennis player is facing a suspension. I'm not sure if we know how long quite yet. It's going to be a while because our guy Nicky tested positive for cocaine. And it's bad, Jesse, when the player does not put up a fight and puts out an immediate statement saying, "I'm sorry and I'll be better."
And
It's not great when there's no appeal or 'cause, guys, even when they commit crime that's on like CCTV cameras are still like,
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. He was like I did snort that line. Yeah, that was me. You know what, guys? That one's on me. I was worried about the wrong white line. I should have been worried about the boundaries of my words. So for me, Jesse, I'm gonna go with two. I think
Okay.
this is bad. Obviously, I do
It's
not
bad.
endorse
It's bad.
cocaine, but you're the main character just seems to fit a little bit here,
Yeah.
especially because Nicky Boy has a history of hashtag bitching and moaning about other
Mhm.
people getting bans. I learned all this in
Oh,
the
yeah.
15 minutes before the pod. But yeah, I just it's very main character energy to complain about other athletes testing positive for stuff and then get test for cocaine. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be with you on that one. I'm giving to the main character for this one, and just the fact that like it happened and he tests positive at an event. It wasn't like a random screening necessarily, like outside of it. And to me, like tennis is hard enough, man. You don't need to
Right?
be inebriated on top of it. Like it's just makes absolutely no sense to me at all whatsoever in this context. But yeah, like you mentioned, the reason I wanted to put it on this one was because of his history of complaining about these things. I think that's a bit ironic when people tell them themselves. All right, our next one here is Tyrese Halliburton's first game back is in New Orleans, playing the Pelicans. What are we giving this one?
Can you go first? Because I have to give myself a one here. I didn't. I felt like given what the other three topics are on here, I wasn't sure why this one was included.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm giving this one a straight to jail to the scheduler on this one. Um, Simply because like you gotta know better than this, right? His first game back has to be in Indiana. I don't care who they're
Okay, that's what I
playing
thought we
against.
were talking
I don't
about.
care who they're playing against, but I'm giving a straight to jail to the actual scheduler in this case. He has got to play in Indiana his first game back. I That is one of the worst missed opportunities I think I've ever seen.
Okay, I follow you now. I'm gonna disagree slightly. I'm gonna give him a three. Go touch grass, only because I agree that he definitely, if this was any other superstar player, that their first game would be back in friendly confines. But you know, Jesse, I'm starting to form the narrative here. I love the chip on the shoulder Pacers that we're
That
gonna
is
get
true.
this
That is
season.
true.
Yes, Cheyenne, we should get tickets for sure. We can drive there and back in the
Oh
same
yeah, you
night.
guys can.
Um, and it's a Pelicans game, so I promise you it won't be expensive. I I love the idea of okay, go ahead, disrespect us, do it. All right, well, we
See what happens.
should we have to earn. There's a little bit of like obviously he missed the whole season, and we were so bad last year that I think a little bit of doubt is warranted. But also the last time this team was together in as close to this form as it can be. Obviously, you've swapped in Zubats for Miles and a couple other things. Also, hilarious Matherin. This is a Matherin revenge game now. But I feel like you could give us a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But I'm gonna go with three. Go touch grass because you should know better. But also like fuel our flame
Right. Our next one is going to be Pat McAfee's album that he released. You and I have never been huge McAfee guys.
album.
Um, but
Well, that's not true, Jesse. We were back before he became extremely problematic.
that's
Back
fair.
in the day,
When he
when
was
he was
still
just a
kicking
brash,
balls.
like when he was a brash, I give no shits, I'm a fun guy punter, he was great. It
Yeah.
was once he started talking that I lost interest.
This one was a pretty easy straight to jail for me. He's not the only person doing this, so I can't full send on the asteroid just yet. But this one's definitely a straight to jail. I didn't. I'm going to be honest. I didn't listen to it. I don't need to. I know
You're
everything I
better
need
off
to
for it.
know. Yeah, I know everything I need to know about this situation that I need to before even listening to a lyric on this. But yeah, that one, everyone involved in that decision making, straight to jail.
It's an immediate send the asteroid. Just nuke the planet. Like we're
He
so
said
done.
we're
It
done
is
here.
so aggressively an AI album. It's not even funny because I promise you, Pat McAfee does not sound like that. The lyrics are very. It's very obvious that he is just somebody. This album is just giving insecurity on such a global scale that it's
Oh yeah. Oh
unbelievable.
yeah.
Because there are words in there. I'm like, you don't know that word. You don't use that word, dude. You like Googled what's a synonym for this word that I can use to make me myself sound smart. Then he takes, I think rightfully so, a lot of heat the week before this album dropped for basically supporting the president, and then him being like, "No, man, I'm supporting high school sports." Well, there's other ways to do that without
Plenty of ways.
but buddying it up with a predator, but sure. And then he every responded to all these hate tweets about it like, "I've always been misunderstood. Listen to my album." The name of the album, Diary of a Polarizing Figure, is just so hilariously bad.
It's so pick
It's like
me.
a microcosm of like, I send the asteroid for this concept, but also I'm gonna do a bonus, a straight to jail for everybody in his circle that let him do this. Sometimes you need a no guy, right? That you can't all be yes
You
men. You
gotta
need
be a
somebody
no.
that's like,
Yeah,
"Hey, man, you make the album if you want to. Play it for your friends and family. You don't got to do this.
that's
You
why I've
you should
always
not do this."
appreciated you as a friend, because if I ever was put myself in this kind of situation, you would be real with me. I know you
I
would.
would be real with you. I'd be like, "It's your choice. If you want to do it, you don't do it though."
But if I was in your shoes, absolutely not. I need to be more like that for you at times, I think, because you had an album at one point.
Excuse me? Do not compare. Okay, do not compare the parody Double B album, which was intended to be satirical, to this album that Pat McAfee has, and I'm quoting here, claimed he spent 20 years writing for it to sound like dog shit.
That parody Double B album was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
That is, you're just building my case for me by making that comparison, because that was shit that I threw together in like a weekend in high school.
Do you remember my Wilford Brimley remix of your show intro?
Do you remember the Wilford Brimley remix? The Double B show intro had like an astonishing number of remixes for just like a 45-second intro. It was like,
I made
when
two of them.
it was when like a, how like a popular song will come out and then it'll gain traction on social media, and then like 3 weeks later, 7 different like electronic DJs will put out a remix to it, and the artist is like, "It's feel good, the remixes," and it's like, we didn't need all this. That was the Double B intro.
Went
I
outrageously
commissioned our
hard.
my friends who were actual like electronic artists to make an actual remix, and then Jesse made a couple, and then I made a couple, and I did it live once. It was fun, but it's also like, looking back on it, like, man, I don't know if it's ego, because it was never truly ego, but whatever emotion that represents, I was feeling it in high
You were
school.
absolutely feeling it. I remember the live remix because you brought me on the air for it for half a second. We both shouted it into the microphone. Oh, that was absolutely
The gold
legendary
jars.
moments. All right, so this next one is the reason why I wanted to do this segment in the first place. And
I figured.
before I even
Mine was the McAfee album, but this is yours.
before I even get to what it is, this is my full send the asteroid, blow it up, we're done here, pack it up. I am over everyone and everything here. And it was a tweet that I saw completely unironically of betting odds for the Little League World Series of who was going to win the USA bracket for the Little League World Series, and it says that California is getting the early love from bettors at plus 200 odds to win the USA championship for this. This got so much traction that Little League actually had to make a statement on it of being like, "Hey, don't bet on kids. This is wrong. This is absolutely
Yeah.
terrible." This is a full send for me. The asteroid, yeah, Cheyenne, absolutely. Thank you for being with me on that one. That is a full 5. We are done here. Blow it up.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Again, we don't. If you've listened to this pod before, which if you're here, you probably have, you know where Jesse and I stand on some of the aspects of sports gambling. I certainly, my line is drawn at children. I think that if you feel the need to bet on 12-year-olds playing baseball, you should probably find a circular formation of your friends and family and maybe talk things through. I don't know. It's a 5 for me too. I also love, Jesse, that we include. I mean, you have to. The scale is 1 to 5, but there was never a shot we were putting a 1 on this on
No,
any of these things.
I had to have a scale. That was the problem.
A question. I'm gonna add one here, Jesse, that
Okay.
has kind of come up since we formed this outline, and I say we loosely because it was Jesse. I really don't want to get into very much do not want to get into the discourse of Shadur versus Deshaun Watson.
Oh
I just
gosh.
don't feel like that's necessary. However, I do feel like we have to at least acknowledge the way that Deshaun Watson has bitched and moaned about being booed by home fans.
I just find the irony and a man. I don't really even want to call him a man, but the irony of this guy talking about respect when he's got 30 plus allegations on him, and
Hmm.
I don't want to hear about how he feels disrespected. I don't care. I don't care at all. I could not care less about how he feels about his treatment there. And to be frank, I don't blame Cleveland fans at all. Most of them didn't want him in the first place. And this has been terrible. Now, that being said, had he come in and balled out and won them a Super Bowl, I don't think anyone's going to really be talking about it anyway, just because it's how human
That's the
nature
sad
is.
truth, yeah.
And but at the end of the day, I I do think the Browns have handled every step of this situation with the worst possible answer. Every single time. From the beginning, from signing him to backing it up to talking about how they did their due diligence on all this, to all of a sudden now still naming him the starter. And yes, Shador, he's not a starting caliber quarterback at this point. I don't know if he's ever going to be. I don't think he's going to be at this point. But at the end of the day, neither is Deshaun. And I understand you're paying him an
Right.
obscene amount of money, but you are turning your back on your fans when your fans are very clearly sending you a message. This is a massive middle finger to all of them, and would not be surprised to see a lot of empty seats in Cleveland this year.
Yeah, and it sucks because the whole rest of the Browns roster is actually really intriguing,
It is.
even for a team that traded Miles Garrett, because you get Jared Verse back, who's awesome. You have so many fun young receivers, a couple young running backs. Harold Fannon's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some young talent on defense. And it's just, I don't think the Browns franchise quarterback is on the roster today.
No.
I have a really hard time understanding what the goal is with Deshaun Watson. Let's say you don't, and because I don't, and let's say the Browns also don't believe that Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback. There's at least a higher chance that he shows you that his play can be average enough
Mm-hmm.
to help the other young players on the offense develop,
You're
right?
out nothing by starting him.
Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion don't develop jack shit if they can't catch footballs
No.
and get those reps. And let's say Deshaun plays and he's average. Okay, where are you now? Are you going to sign him to a new deal?
No.
His contract's done at the end of this year, and you I feel like you want to start him because you're like, well, we're paying him so much money. That money is already spent.
Yeah.
That's a sunk cost fallacy. It's why bad teams stay bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh well, we traded all that stuff for him, so we have to keep playing him even though he's bad.
Mm-hmm.
No, you actually don't, and that's why you're still bad, and that's why the quarterback jersey in the Browns, that store that
It just
in Cleveland where it just continues to go. That's why it's like they're out of space on this jersey. It's because you just continually make choices like this. First, I mean not first, but whether it's drafting a 28-year-old rookie quarterback
yes.
or giving up on Baker after he showed you the first signs of life that you'd had at this position in forever, which Baker had some maturing to do, but still, like certainly not to the extent of Deshaun Watson.
No.
I'll say that. I just yeah, I didn't really want to get into it, but I felt like we
We
had
have
to
to. It was a
acknowledge it.
huge story this week, and yeah, I don't understand it. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to understand it because you talk about the sunken fallacy cost, and when you look at franchises that are well run, and I know the 49ers haven't won in quite some time, but when push came to shove, they knew what was happening with the Brock Purdy and Trey Lance situation, and they did not hesitate. And yeah,
Hmm.
Trey Lance kind of got a raw end of the deal, but again, he didn't show us enough in that amount of time. And Brock Purdy stepped up. And we can have a different conversation about Brock Purdy, but he is a starting caliber quarterback in this league, regardless.
For sure, no
And
doubt.
he he showed what he needed to see. Um, but they did not let them using a top three pick on Trey Lance stop them from what the team needed in that moment. And that's because the 49ers are a well run organization, and that's a key difference.
And it doesn't always mean that you're like solve all your problems. Like another great example, the Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen. He was immediately just clearly not it.
Yep.
Then the very next year, they have the number one pick. They take Kyler Murray. They never really achieved anything with Kyler, but they at least were willing to cut their losses. And I was like, you know what? I'm rooting for you, Loki, because you don't
Yeah.
ever see teams do that.
No.
And it was clear that Josh Rosen just did not have what it took, and they recognized that, and they had an opportunity to bring in a new guy, and they did that. And
Yeah.
so, the Browns are going to have that opportunity upcoming in this draft. I just hope that they do that and they choose a new player. And whether that guy works out or not, you got to move on from. And it's just also just they're just constantly shooting themselves in the foot with this position. I
Mm-hmm.
love so much of what they've done for their team in this offseason in particular. And I truly do believe they have an exciting young core. And in 2 years, we could be talking about the Browns. Like, could they compete for the title this year if they hit the quarterback right? I want a big if. But
Big if.
even like the other stuff that they're doing at the position, they drafted Dylan Gabriel way higher than anybody would have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
He's ass. You also now spent a mid-round pick on Taylon Green this year, who has all the tools in the world, but he's fourth on this depth chart
Yep.
behind. You're clearly committed to Deshaun. So if Deshaun doesn't work, then you're going to play Shadur. And if Shadur doesn't work, then you're either giving up on the third round pick when you doubled up at quarterback with Gabriel, or third or fourth. I don't remember which round he was in, or you're bypassing all three of these guys for this unproven, physically talented rookie. It's a mess, and it sucks because there's so many fun young players on that team, and I hope they figure it out. But
I got a question for you, and I don't know if I'm being alarmist in this. Is this the worst quarterback room you've ever seen?
I don't know, man. I watched Drew Lock and um, Brock Osweiler have like the saddest quarterback battle of all time once.
It's
So
fair. That's fair.
it might be. I
It,
hesitate to say the worst quarterback room of all time because the Jets last year might have even been worse.
that is true.
I don't know. I'm gonna Google while we're talking here. Worst QB rooms of all time. This is probably up there, but
At least as
man,
far
I
as
don't
like
know.
narratives and messiness go, I think it has to be in that scenario.
Okay, so NFL.com put out this, which is hilarious. Put out this list.
NFL.com made this list. Oh
Um,
no.
I can't tell when this is. I think it's 2017, but in 2012, the Jets had a quarterback room of Mark Sanchez, Tim Tebow, and Greg McElroy with a combined completion percentage of 55%, with 14 touchdown passes and 19 interceptions,
Oh,
while being sacked 47 times.
oh.
That's
Okay,
pretty bad.
that's pretty bad.
Like it is not good. Or the 2008 Oakland Raiders, who had Jamarcus Russell, Andrew Walter, and Marquise Tuiasosopo. They
That's pretty
threw a
bad.
total. They threw a total of 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And then the next year, it was Jamarcus Russell, Bruce Gradkowski, Charlie Fry, and JP Losman, who were even worse.
That's brutal.
Let's see. The worst on this list is the Tim Couch, Doug Peterson, Spurgeon win 2000 Browns,
Yeah, that's
when they
pretty
had
bad too.
9 touchdown passes and 18 interceptions in 16 games.
That's brutal.
Averaged 152 pass yards per game,
That's brutal.
which was dead last in the league.
That's pretty
But,
bad.
this is up there for sure, vibes wise alone.
Alrighty, well, we got plenty of NFL to get into over the next, 6 months or plus. That honestly, this podcast becomes an NFL podcast here pretty shortly. So while we have some time, we're gonna actually go ahead and do our college football preseason predictions. And honestly, I think college football is in a really interesting place right now, just because we've had the
Certainly
top
one
two
way to describe it.
conferences. The top two conferences have just been so dominant over the last decade between the Big Ten and the SEC, and we're all just kind of waiting for that next group. Who is it going to be? I mean, you have pieces. You have your independents who have Notre Dame who plays well. The ACC's always got a couple teams. Big 12's always got a couple teams, but it's really top heavy. It's really top heavy, and there's times where I genuinely do miss how much parity there was in the early 2000s. And you had the teams out west that could win. You had some Big Ten teams. The SEC's always been strong. ACC was a lot stronger. But how we're going to do this is going to be, we're going to announce the power conference winners, the Big Four. We're going to give our Final Four playoff team predictions and a champion, the Heisman, Coach of the Year, one surprise, and one disappointment. So we'll go ahead and start with our Power Conference winner predictions. And Ben, who do you have taking the Big Ten this year?
I was gonna say I'm interested to see what order we do this in because I think we're gonna have done this in the same order,
I'm
even though we
interested.
didn't talk about it. I have Oregon, which I
Okay,
laugh
okay.
because picking Oregon has almost never worked for anyone ever. But I don't know, man. Dante Moore was pretty damn good last
It
year.
was.
He's got a lot of weapons with the football on offense, defense. We'll see, but I think they're gonna score a lot of points.
Oh, yeah.
I I think Ohio's it's really hard for me to pick against Ohio State, to be honest, because they just win. As much as I hate to admit it, they just constantly win football games. But their schedule is a little tougher than Oregon's schedule. The toughest games on Oregon's slate at USC, which I don't know, a lot of people are pretty high on USC. I don't know if I believe that 100%. Then and that's September 26th. They go almost 2 months before they play a game of any real challenge at Ohio State, which that's about as tough as it gets. But then they host Michigan, and then they end the season against in Washington, which I don't know. Like, well, I think Washington could be good. I think they could also fall apart. You look at Ohio State's schedule; they've got at Texas, which doesn't impact the conference, but could
It's a
impact their
big game.
team's morale. But they then play at Iowa, who's not on their caliber, but weirder things have happened. Then in a row, they play at Indiana, a bye week, at USC, host Oregon, and then they end with the big game against at home against Michigan. I feel like that's a little tougher, so I lean that way. And I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not gonna say Indiana's gonna miss the playoffs because they don't have a Charmin soft schedule this year, but it's pretty favorable, but I need them to show me. And this is crazy to say about the defending national champs, but you just lost so many
Yeah.
key pieces, especially on offense, that they're gonna have to show me. They're like almost an entirely new team, and they could still be a really good team, but they're gonna need to show it to me. Oregon has returning production. They now have a break in case of emergency plan at quarterback. I'm going with the Ducks for the Big Ten.
So I know you said you were close on the team that I picked here, and I went with Ohio State. And I had a hard time
Yeah.
choosing between Ohio State and Oregon. I do think Indiana has a tougher time getting through. I know they're hosting Ohio State, but that has always been a very difficult time for the Hoosiers. I love my Hoosiers. I love them very much, and I think they're going to have a good season. I don't think they're going to have an elite season the way that they have even the last 2 years. I do think 9-3 is on the table for them, and if they miss the playoffs, so be it. My biggest thing is that I just don't want them to completely collapse. If we are still in
Mhm.
that 10
I
and
don't. I
2,
don't think
9-3 range, um, then the program is going to continue on moving forward, and I think they're going to end up being okay. That's what I'm looking for in this season. If we get anything else on top of that, if we go back to the playoff for a third straight season, awesome. I'm happy about it. I'm excited about that. But again, they can't really hurt me as much as they used to, just simply because I'm
not a
feeling
lot of
good.
goodwill.
But I
Yeah,
do think
I
this is
think
Ohio State's year for the Big Ten championship, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that um, I do think they are just better on paper than a lot of teams, and if they stay healthy, I think that's going to be enough.
yeah, I know I'm gonna live to regret picking Oregon over Ohio State. I don't know. I had to go not chalk there,
Yeah.
although just this one time. I do think I don't know. I mean, I really don't know how the playoffs are gonna shake out. There's so many the like not the like 6 to 15 range is so murky for me that
Oh
it's
yeah.
almost impossible to figure out. But if Hoover is good for IU, I definitely think they can make the playoffs.
Yep.
The hangover after winning a title is hard for anybody, but
Fair.
especially, and I don't say this to be like disrespectful. I
No.
mean this genuinely. We just don't know what it's going to look like at a school that has
Exactly.
never ever dealt with that before.
Mm-hmm.
At an
You just don't
Alabama,
know.
Ohio State, Clemson, these schools that have won, Georgia, these schools that have won recently, we know what that looks like, and
Yep.
they have a history of, maybe some of those individual players haven't dealt with it, but there's a cultural
Exactly.
expectation of that's how good you are every year. What they did last year was so magical that even if they are an elite team, it's not going to be, there's no way that they're going to do the exact same. I can't see it happening with so many new pieces. They could certainly be one of those final teams, but we're going to have to see it, I think.
Well, and honestly, it kind of fits into the Indiana Pacer narrative too, that after that magical run, it almost kind of works better narratively for the Pacers that Tyrese was hurt last year, because if they came out and sucked, then it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, Tyrese getting hurt in game 7 actually helps his stock quite a bit, because if they had just gone and straight up lost the game, we wouldn't have really been talking about it. But because he got hurt, what did people say? Oh, they would have had that. They would have won. We don't know for sure. It was a close game when he went out. Do we think so? Yeah, that's our coping mechanism for that. But no, I'm with you 100% on that. I don't think they're going to be a slouch by any means, but I'm just cautiously optimistic. I know my program. I know this is a very very different uncharted territory trying to do a title defense, and they just don't have the proof of concept that some of the other bigger schools do. All right, so now we're going into your territory at this point, into the SEC, where really any number of teams can emerge as the leader of the SEC. And for this one, I'll go ahead and go first. I'm
Sure.
taking the Longhorns. I'm taking Texas this year, and it is for one specific reason. And this might just be me taking the copium right now, but I do think Arch Manning finally fully puts it together and starts showing that last name that we've been kind of waiting for. I think he had an unfair hype very early in his career because of the name and what that carries, and this the natural arm talent that he has. He's had time to develop. And we have talked about this. We talked about this in person. He has got to play. He's got to play the way that people expect him to play. The offense is going to be built around his skill sets. If this is truly going to be the year that he proves to everyone that he is going to be the next man up going on playing in NFL Sundays, this has to be the year for them. So, with that being said, if he does, Texas wins the SEC.
I think I agree with everything you said. Uh, to an extent, I think Arch actually played really well in the second half of last year. It just kind of got lost a little bit because Texas as a team was a little more inconsistent than
Mm-hmm.
expected, and obviously they missed out on the playoffs. I think the way that Texas's season will go, I mean, they'll go as far as Arch will take them, but I think that he has more help now than he has
Mm-hmm.
at any point. Their offensive line play last year was atrocious.
It
They
was
hit the
awful.
portal and got some new guys. Hollywood Smothers is an explosive running back. You went and got the best available wide receiver in Cam Coleman. The defense has some reinforcements. It's not quite like an elite unit, but you certainly would expect some production and results out of the defense. And that's why I've also chosen the Texas Longhorns as my SEC champion. I just
Okay.
think that
Okay.
they're a, a well-rounded team. I think also, as much I love to like try to game out the schedule preseason. It's one of my favorite things to do. But their tough games at Ohio or against Ohio State in Austin, which by the way, tickets as low as $553. It says uh, they do travel to
Golly.
Tennessee, but Tennessee is about to start a freshman quarterback, and they're going to be the first SEC school to start a true freshman since Auburn started Bo Nix.
Wow.
So, Tennessee, who really knows how they're going to be? They have Red River against Oklahoma, who Oklahoma is either going to be really good or super disappointing. I guess we'll find out. Then they get to then they host Florida and Ole Miss at Missouri, who's like, fine, but I
Yeah.
think Texas is better than Missouri.
Yeah.
At LSU, who by that point in November, who knows what LSU looks like, and then at A&M. I'll save some of my thoughts about some of those matchups for a later portion of this um, preseason prediction. But Georgia, I don't really believe fully in Georgia and some of the other teams at the top of the SEC. I'm going to be honest, I almost picked Alabama because I'm starting to drink the Kool Aid a little bit. I really like Keelan Russell, but I couldn't quite get there. And also, if I picked Alabama, that's the kiss of death. So I'd rather them.
That's kind of the same reason why I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid of Josh Hoover, to be quite honest
But
with
if you
you.
look at Alabama's schedule, they host number 3 Georgia. Everybody knows what the Florida State revenge game coming up. At home. They also traveled to Neyland, and we've lost our last 2 to Tennessee. But again, I don't really believe in Tennessee. They don't scare me. Home against A&M. We'll get to A&M in a minute. At LSU, which who knows. And then they close Vanderbilt, Chattanooga, Auburn. If Alabama lives up to the hype, they could. I don't know, man.
It
I don't know.
could.
I'm just saying.
Any given game. I mean, and that's the thing about the SEC is that because the iron sharpens iron principle, you don't know. You got to go play the games. And excuse me, 100%, I think Alabama has the talent to go up toe to toe. And if they can get the offensive consistency that we're used to seeing that wasn't there last year, 100%, they're clearly a contender
If their
for that
offensive
title.
line play is back to what we expect, then I think they could go all the way for sure. And also something important to remember with the SEC this year: 9 conference games now, so
Hmm.
half these teams are going to have an extra loss.
Yeah.
Who knows what that looks like by the time, we thought this past playoff was bad when people are moaning because 3-loss Texas almost made it into the playoff, and that was a discussion. But half of these SEC teams are going to have another loss,
They
and
are.
they might have another loss to a really good team. So I think this is the year we see a 3-loss playoff team. I just think it's inevitable
I think so.
that. So, like, if you have like a Texas or Georgia or even like an Ohio State or somebody that has like one like mid to bad loss, 2 really competitive losses against really good teams, and some quality wins, as some of these teams are going to get the chance to do in the Big Ten or SEC, we might see a 3-loss team this year.
Yeah, I definitely think at least in the SEC for sure. I mean, it's going to get muddy because these teams are all so close to each other. You think about like an Ole Miss, they can play spoiler to a lot of different teams. They're ranked pretty high going into the season. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of chaos, and the SEC loves to have that kind of chaos because they love to play against the best of the best, and that's just how it works.
Ole
Alrighty,
Miss is a great example, Jesse, because
yeah,
they could beat Louisville, LSU, and Texas, and then lose to Georgia, Oklahoma, and let's say Missouri.
yeah,
And if LSU is really good, or if they beat Georgia and Oklahoma but then lose to Missouri, Texas, and let's say LSU,
yeah.
those and Georgia and Oklahoma are really good. I don't know, man. Starts to get interesting.
It gets very, very interesting. All right, I'm going staying on the coast over here with the ACC, and
We did the same order.
yes,
It's
I
fine.
want you to walk with me here. All right, there is a clear favorite in this. In Miami, the defending national runner-ups are the clear favorite in this conference. And a lot of people think they are the cream of the crop. I'm going with an upset pick here, and I'm taking SMU. I'm taking the Mustangs as my ACC champion. And a lot of it has to do with the schedule. And you talked about having that hangover from the national championship. A national championship loss is a really tough pill to swallow. It is a very, very tough pill to swallow. They're going to be playing with a new quarterback. So I'm taking a look here at the SMU schedule. And they start off against Florida State at Florida State. That's not going to be an easy one. I know Florida State's not ranked and they're not the Seminoles of prior, but still, it's a tough environment to go in and play. Week 3, they have Louisville on the road, which they currently are ranked. But their
Louisville's good.
schedule,
Don't
yes,
sleep on them.
yes, they get a incredibly easy schedule up until their second to last game against Notre Dame, which is a non-conference game. I think they can run the table quite a bit in the ACC if they play their cards right. And if they go on a little bit of a run, they're going to make their way into the conference championship game. And in this case, Miami, they got some tough games on their schedule, but theirs is going to look very cupcakey, and I think they might catch them off guard. I don't think this is going to be more of a dominance win by any means. I think this is going to be a college football playoff shakeup, just random upset win at the end of a long conference season. I think this is going to be kind of a squeak through kind of situation for SMU.
It's so I want to read you exactly what I have in my notes, Jesse. I have Miami in parentheses. Don't sleep on SMU.
Yes.
I couldn't quite get there. I also wrote SMU could be good. Very easy schedule minus Louisville and Notre Dame, which of course Notre Dame doesn't count for the conference race. I think that Kevin Jennings is one of the most experienced returning starting quarterbacks in college football.
Hmm.
He's also very good. I think they have a good roster. I think again they have a very easy schedule. I ultimately did go with Miami, and you're losing a lot of key contributors, but you also still have Malachi Tony, the electric, I guess now sophomore receiver. You have some good running backs still in the building. You lost a couple, but you still have Mark Fletcher, who had a monster season last year, um, and is really good. You lost some talent. Both of your defensive ends are gone, but you brought in some transfers, and you upgraded at quarterback. Personally, Carson Beck is a fine college quarterback, but I don't think that he was an elevator in the way that they hoped he could be, and I think ultimately that's partially why they fell short.
Hmm.
Darian Mens is really good. I know a lot of people haven't
Yeah,
watched a lot of his games because he's
he
played
is
at some
very
smaller
talented though.
schools, but he is very good, and I really think that they could hit the ground running. The ACC to me it's really just a two-team race. Louisville I actually do like. They just have such unknown at quarterback because their starting quarterback hasn't like ever played.
Right.
But if he's good, I would watch out for Louisville as well. But I like SMU for all the reasons that you highlighted, but I'm going to stick with the Hurricanes. I just think they're the most talented team in that conference. I have no faith in Clemson, or I think Mike Norvell's going to get fired at Florida State. I just don't really know where else besides there. Virginia was really good last year. They won 10 games, but they won 3 overtime games, and I don't know. I'd like to see them prove it again before I do that. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be as much of a factor without Haynes King. At that point, you're either banking on NC State could be feisty, but there's nobody that I feel more confident about than Miami and SMU, and I'll go with Miami in that head to head.
Alrighty, so our last power conference is going to be the Big 12. So, bit top heavy on this one. I think you could say it's a three-horse race between Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah. For this one,
I would add a fourth, but I'll get to that.
are you adding Houston to that?
I would add a fifth. I, Houston's also good. I don't think they're going to win the conference because it's a lot of ground to cover. But Oklahoma State brought in a lot of
You
really, and
do
I know
love
I'm
you some
biased. They
Cowboys.
brought in a lot of really good North Texas players,
Yep.
and if they hit that right, they could be a factor. I don't think they're going to win the conference, but they could be a factor. Anyway, Jesse, please continue.
Um, I went back and forth between BYU and Texas Tech, and I ended up going with the favorite on this one, Texas Tech, just because I think the overall roster construction is better. And, Bear Backmeyer is a good quarterback for BYU. I think he's going to have a good season, but they lost to Texas Tech twice last year. And I think those kind of things do matter. They do stay in your mind. I know transfer portal, a lot of different players on the team nowadays, but I do think Texas Tech just overall has the depth, I think, to last an entire season. I know the conference for the Big 12 is not as strong as the other ones that we have talked about from top to bottom, but I think it's Tech's to lose at this point, and until I see differently, I'm going with them.
Have you looked at the schedules for these two teams, by the way?
Not in depth. I did earlier, but I'll
Who do
be
you
honest.
think BYU's hardest game in conference is?
Let me look.
Because I can tell you. I'll spare you the look, Jesse. They play at Utah, a team
Mm,
who lost a whole ton of players, has a brand new head coach, and a lot of uncertainty. Other than that, it's maybe at TCU, I
I think
guess.
so. I think, yeah.
But I mean, certainly you think you're better than TCU. So I have a hard time seeing BYU not make the conference championship.
Yeah, I think so. I
I
definitely
believe
think
in
they'll make it.
Bachmeyer. I think they have a talented roster. Texas Tech's schedule is not really that much harder. They host Houston, and then they play at Oklahoma State, and that's pretty much it. These two teams are. Look, I hear all the talk about Houston. I think is a solid team. I've just highlighted Oklahoma State. Who's the third? Utah. I don't trust Utah. I'm sorry. I need to see it. But those two teams with the cakewalk schedule that they've got, and then just the clear separation between the top and the bottom. But I got BYU. I think that Will Hammond is a talented quarterback for Texas Tech, but he's coming off an ACL tear. He was not supposed to be the starting quarterback. I do believe that some of what happened to Texas Tech in the offseason is going to loom over the season.
I do think
And
so too.
I think in this matchup, I'm going to lean with who I think is the better quarterback. That's Bear Bachmeyer. I think, he played as a freshman last year. I
Yeah.
think that he'll take a significant step forward this year. I don't really know that I love BYU's ceiling. I don't love either of these teams' ceilings.
No, I'm not sitting
Texas
here
Tech
thinking
also
they're going to be
lost a
going deep.
lot of production on defense. They brought in some talented guys to replace them, but you never know how that's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with BYU in the Big 12.
I'll be honest, that was probably the toughest one for me when it came to just gut feeling overall, was between Tech and BYU. BYU is coming to the bounce house in October. I might have to
I see the
scurry on
Mormons
over
play
there.
the bouncers.
Yeah. I need to get to the bounce house. Alrighty, so those are our power conference predictions, and now we're gonna give our final four playoff teams and our champion. And there's really no rhyme or reason for this. I'm not sitting here like breaking down a bracket. It's just the four teams that I think will be left
No, I
out at the
started trying
end.
to think about it like that, and it
Yeah,
broke my brain. So
yeah. I
I
was like, nope,
stopped.
I can't. No, I don't have time for that. So my final four teams were Ohio State. Ironically, even though I did not pick them to be the conference champion, I still think they would make the playoff in this scenario as Miami. Notre Dame and Texas. And in this scenario, I am going to take the Ohio State Buckeyes as my champion.
So I'm sorry. You had Ohio State, Miami, Notre Dame, and Texas.
Yes.
Okay. I also, ironically, though I didn't choose them to win the Big Ten, I also have Ohio State. I also have Notre Dame. I have Texas, and I have Oregon.
Okay.
I don't. It's Oregon is so weird, man, because I picked them to win the conference, but I have like less than zero faith of them winning the championship.
This
But
week
I'm
one
like, I got,
loss by Oregon is gonna hit so great.
but if I pick them to win the Big Ten, then I gotta pick them to at least win one
Yeah,
playoff
you gotta,
game.
yeah.
So, but I have my national champion. I kind of left this blank until now because I'm between. I'm gonna be honest. I'm between Notre Dame and Texas, and I'm having a hard time believing which one I believe, or
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time choosing which one I believe would pull through. I don't know. I think CJ Carr is special. I'm going with
I
Notre
do like
Dame.
CJ
It's
Carr.
100% wrong. There's certainly some questions, but I think this Notre Dame team could be really, really good. I think they're playing with an edge, whether real or manufactured. I think that they're going to have one. I think they've got a more challenging schedule than they've had in years past. So I think they'll be more ready for primetime football. I'm going to go with the Irish over the Longhorns.
Okay. Heisman predictions. You actually just mentioned his name. What's going to be my pick? I'm taking CJ Carr, the quarterback for Notre Dame. I do believe that he's got that it factor. Um, it's a quarterback's award, unfortunately nowadays, but I think with Notre Dame having a better season overall, especially if they have a better start, more eyes on the team just naturally just because of who they are. And especially if they have some of the best quarterback play that they've had in years, I think it would be a pretty much a slam dunk for him to win.
I am going with Julian Sand, actually, from Ohio State. I think that Ohio State's going to be really. I did not pick them to win the Big Ten, but I have them in the Final Four, and I think they're going to have a monster season. I think that that's going to come a lot from the offense. You lose Carnell Tate, but you have Jeremiah Smith. Sayan had probably the one of the more quiet Heisman finalist seasons in recent memory last year. I think people forget he was even a Heisman finalist.
Yeah, he was.
He was really good. I think he takes a step forward. Ohio State had three defenders drafted in the top 11 of last year's draft. If there's anybody of this summer's draft, if there's anybody that is equipped with 5 stars off the bench in this day and age to come in and step into those roles, it's probably Ohio State. But it's probably going to take the defense a little bit of time to find its footing. And I
Yeah.
think that he's going to put up some video game type numbers and take the Heisman.
Okay. Coach of the year. I know you were saying during our pre-show that you hadn't picked, you're gonna kind of do it live here. So I'll give you a couple more seconds to come
I
up with
kind of
yours.
lied. I picked as we went live.
Okay. I'm going with Steve Sarkisian from Texas. I think Texas is going to have a much better year overall. I think they're going to be a lot more competent. I think a lot of that has to do with his roster construction. I think he's a skilled tactician. And more than anything, I just think Texas kind of propelling themselves into national championship conversation legitimately is going to kind of push him over that.
Yeah, I was between Sark and Marcus Freeman, who I chose here. Because I was like, I'm probably gonna pick Notre Dame to win the championship, and I'm gonna certainly not double down on Notre Dame. That can't hurt me. But then I was like, I don't know, man. I just really think Notre Dame is gonna put together a great year. But I think Sark is also a good choice as well. It's really a coin flip for me. College football's like Coach of the Year award is also just like so. The NFL's is almost impossible to predict. College is even worse because it's well, we had these 10 teams that won 11 games. Who's going to get the coach of the year? So I like the narrative for Marcus Freeman. I know he won it a couple of years ago, but I think
It's a
that
good pick. It's,
the narrative here of, well, Notre Dame was jobbed out of the playoffs and they came back with a vengeance and Marcus Freeman had his boys fighting harder than possible. And I feel like that could win him the award if they have the season. I think they can.
I like that. All right. We have one surprise and one disappointment. Do you want to go ahead and give
Yeah,
your
one.
two?
We have one. So I've already talked about my surprise. SMU is preseason what 19.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a really hard time seeing them losing multiple times because of how soft that schedule is. I don't know, man. I mean, they I'm trying to pull up the schedule exactly because I pinpointed like two games where I'm like, I don't know, this is a tricky game at Louisville, but I think they're better than them. And then even if they lose to Notre Dame and Louisville, that's 10-2. You're playing for a conference championship. I think they're going to be better than people think for those reasons. I went with a complete long shot here also, as I know you said one, but I wasn't going to do that. Um, and I don't believe this one, so it's kind of like here's my like long shot. Like they could be a surprise
Yeah.
if South Carolina fixes their offense. I don't know, man. They could be good. They've got a lot of talented players on both sides of the ball. They play at Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida, but they get home against Georgia and A&M. And if Lenoris Sellers can be who we think he can be, and just have like a magical season, they could win 9 or 10 games. I
Yeah.
don't think they will. I want to be clear, but they could.
Okay. I like those. So, my surprise for the year is going to be a team that you actually mentioned earlier. Is USC. I think Southern California actually squeaks their way into the college football playoff this year. They have a tough
Wow, you're
schedule.
eating Lincoln Riley's brisket.
They got a tough schedule. Okay. Here are just this is a 3 game stretch between September 26th and October 10th. They host Oregon, host Washington, they're at Penn State. It's a tough, tough stretch. They also play at home against Ohio State and they go on the road to Bloomington and they play IU. That is a very brutal schedule. And the rest of their schedule is a joke. It's a complete joke. But when I look at this, I see 2 losses in here. And in my view, just based off of how I think this season is going to go, I think they pull out wins
Well, hold on a
against.
second, Jesse. You see two? Which two? Which of these top six teams are they beating?
I think they are going to beat Washington and Penn State back to back weeks. And then I do think
Hmm.
they beat IU. I do think that's one of
Okay.
IU's 3 losses this year. And I think their USC is going to go into the playoff with 2 losses to Oregon and Ohio State, who I believe are going to meet in the Big Ten championship game.
Hmm.
So in that scenario, if they end that season with 2 losses, but they have wins over Washington, Penn State, and IU, they're going to be ranked pretty highly. And if their 2 losses are
Yeah.
to Oregon and Ohio State, I think that's enough for them to make it.
Yeah. I think. that I'm not quite drinking the USC Kool-Aid. You mentioned those 5 games. There is a game in between them at Wisconsin, which is not an easy place to play, and Wisconsin could be a
Yeah,
lot better. Those are 6 consecutive games that they play.
that's a gauntlet.
And then outside of that, it's 5 Ws you can pretty much put on the board.
Yeah. I like Gary
Maryland
Patterson
is
as their
sometimes
defensive
feisty.
coordinator. I do like Gary
UCLA
Patterson.
maybe.
Yeah. I
Sorry,
do
go ahead.
I do like Gary Patterson, the former TCU coach for like 20 some
Hmm.
years. I do like him as their defensive coordinator. I think that's a great pickup for them going into the season. And that's really where they've struggled. They've given up so many points over the last several
Yeah.
years. Caleb Williams last year there, it was saloon door defense for them. I think that makes a huge difference going, and especially the longer you play into a season, typically the better defenses start playing. And in that scenario, I think that's where they're going to have a little bit of a leg up on some of the other Big Ten teams. Do I think they're winning the championship? No, I don't. But I do think they're
Mhm.
good enough to squeak their way through with strategic wins, and just making sure they limit their losses to those big boppers at the top.
Yeah, I can't quite get there with you, Jesse, but I will say if they are that good, we're gonna find out,
Yeah, we're going to find
and
out
they're
real
gonna have
quick.
every opportunity. Yeah, they're gonna have plenty of opportunities to prove it. So, if they are good, I do think they could be really good.
Ready. And my disappointment this year is going to be Texas A&M. And
Hey,
you know, I'm not really
don't hold back.
100%. I'm not really 100% sure why I'm not as high on them. They also have a gauntlet schedule, but they got to go to Alabama. They have to go to Oklahoma. They got to play at Missouri, at LSU. It's a lot of these road games and some really tough places to play. I'm I'm just not drinking the Kool-Aid on the Aggies this year. I don't see a path forward for them.
They also lost a lot of
They
production
did.
on offense and defense. They keep Mario Craver, who's a very good receiver. They add Alabama legend Isaiah Horton, who's pretty solid, and Alabama legend Wilkin Formby on the at right tackle. Their offensive line is kind of a question mark to me.
They also have to go
They
at
have
South Carolina. That's not an easy game.
they have a really good running back in Ruben Owens. Marcel One I think kind of regresses this season. A lot of unproven, or maybe not unproven, but I don't think the defense is going to be as good. I viewed them as like semi fraudulent last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that beating Notre Dame early in the season in week 1 really carried a lot of momentum for them. They played a lot of really shaky football. They tried to lose a lot of games.
They
This is
did.
just a team to me where I don't think that they're going to be bad, but I think regression is coming for them. I, that South Carolina team that you just highlighted, some people probably don't because it was an insane comeback. They were down 28-3
They were.
at South
I
against
remember
South
that. Yeah.
Carolina last year. They were losing so bad that their halftime score tweet said there will be a second half. And then they the narrator's voice, there sure was a second half. But
Listen to this
I have a
5 game
hard,
stretch, man. Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas to end the season.
and that's
You
not
could go
counting their
0 and
games
5.
at LSU and at Missouri.
Right. You could go and lose 5 consecutive games there to end the season. Legitimately.
I just they're I just don't think that they're all that.
Yeah.
I had A&M. I also had Ole Miss, and I would throw LSU in there too.
Hmm.
You want to hear LSU's schedule?
I'm pulling it up here.
Home against Clemson to start the
That's
season.
a tough start.
I'm going to read you their whole schedule because if LSU's like USC, if they're good, we're going to know it. Home against Clemson, home against Louisiana Tech, at number 9 Ole Miss,
Ooh.
home number 8 Texas A&M, home McNeese State, at Kentucky, home Mississippi State, at Auburn, nothing there. But then they close their season home against Alabama, home against Texas, at Tennessee, and then at Arkansas. Ole Miss, who I'm sorry, having watched the Pete Golding defense when he was Alabama's defensive coordinator, I don't know if that's a leader of men. Their schedule is a lot easier, but they do have that really intriguing first week matchup against Louisville at home. Then they play week 3 home LSU at Florida, who could be pretty feisty, at Vanderbilt, who could be feisty, home Missouri, who's currently ranked, at Texas, who's number 5, home Auburn, who knows, man, home Georgia, at Oklahoma. Trinidad Chambliss is probably the best returning quarterback in football, but I don't know,
I don't know if
man.
he's that good.
And not to throw one more team because the real team, Jesse, that I wanted to put here and just don't have the balls to stand on 10 toes. I wanted to put Georgia here.
I knew
And
you would, and I think we both were kind of there. We just didn't want to say it with our chest in case they came out went undefeated. But I'm
there's
I'm right there with you.
I think that they probably will make the playoffs because their schedule is actually much easier than any of those teams. They play home against Oklahoma, home against Vanderbilt, at Alabama. That's not easy. But then home Auburn, who's they're better than, home Florida, who they should be better than, at Ole Miss, who I think they're better than, home Missouri, at South Carolina, and then the Georgia Tech game, who I don't think is very good. Their schedule is actually pretty easy. I just for Georgia, the disappointment is I just don't think that they're a real true title contender. But I think that they'll probably be in the playoffs, and that's really why I didn't want to put them there. But I don't know. I could see a scenario where they're just not as good as they have been.
Right. Let's play some games, man. Let's play some games. So
Let's do it.
we had our
Too much
fun,
ball.
lots of ball, but that's why the people
Nice
show
play.
up.
Come here.
All right,
Come here.
we're bringing back the playlist game. No phrase this time, just because Ben and I's work has been
Jesus.
we'll just say busy. We'll just say we've been busy.
We'll say. That's
uh,
one way to put it.
so this one we did a simplified version of it. We're doing cover songs that are better than the original. Now, keep in mind, we didn't say good cover songs. We said cover songs better than the original, and that is a bold statement to have to do. Oh no, what are you calling timeout for?
I'm sorry, quick timeout. I gotta tell you that Dylan Gabriel has 3 touchdowns in the first half against the Patriots.
He heard you.
Start him. Start Gabriel. Fuck it. Who cares?
Signs of life. Signs
I
of
don't know
life.
if they're like touchdowns where he actually like made plays. Hold on, I'm watching this clip. No, okay, he threw a wheel route. Never mind. You're good.
We give it to
Carry
him. We
on.
give it to him. So, um, with that being said, I had to essentially I made a list of cover songs that I loved very much, and then had to start really considering if they were better than the original one. So unfortunately, the Dirty Diana cover by The Weeknd did not make it because if I said that anybody did better than the Michael Jackson original, I might get run over with a car. So
It's also not on my list, Jesse, and you know how passionate I am about that
yes,
cover. So I
and
think firm handshakes, we both agree it's
yeah,
elite, but like king of
yeah,
king of pop,
yeah, we can't do that one. I'll go ahead and start with this one, and we only picked five, so this was a fiver here. I know.
Well, I have 10 on my
I was gonna
list, so
say
yes.
Ben doesn't follow directions ever in his life.
No,
So
I follow directions, Jesse. But what if you take one of what if you take one of mine?
that's
Am I
fair.
gonna repeat you?
That's fair. That's fair. Alrighty, I'm gonna start from my bottom here, and I'm gonna go with the Post Malone cover of the Hootie and the Blowfish song "Only Want to Be with You."
Oh, it's a great one
It's an awesome one, and one
from
of
the
it's
Pokemon 25 years.
it spurred one of my favorite tweets of all time, and the headline was Post Malone covers Hootie and the Blowfish song "Only Want to Be with You" for 25th anniversary of Pokemon. And somebody was like, at no point did I guess what the next word in the sentence was going to be. If you
Every day
haven't
we're
heard it,
inventing
though,
new words,
oh
new
yeah,
sentences.
if you've never heard it, it's actually an incredible jam. I think it's Posty at some of his best pop work that he's done. My next one, a lot of people don't realize this one is a cover, but it's "You've Got the Love" by Florence and the Machine. Phenomenal vocal performance. I love Florence. Incredible song. My third one is a song that was popular when you and I were in high school, and it is "Skinny Love" by Birdie. I adore her version of it. Nothing against the Bon Iver version, but Birdie's just gives it an emotional depth that the original can't. All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. Took a Bob Dylan song and actually made it listenable because it's not Bob Dylan singing in it anymore. But Jimmy is obviously known for elevating basically everything that he ever touched. And then my favorite cover that is just blows the original out of the water is the Lana Del Rey cover of "Doing Time."
Oh, see, this is why I show up with more than one.
um, absolute masterpiece song,
So good.
and literally just sounds like Southern California in a bottle. Completely addicting.
Well, see, Jesse, you made fun of me, but this is why I show up with more than five. Is because I also that was my number two. I didn't really rank these, but
Mm.
I have like a top three, I guess. If I sat here real quick and ranked them, which I kind of did when you said I'm starting from the bottom. I was like, shit, how would I do this? So I guess I'll attempt to do the same thing. No, I'm not going to do that because I have a specific order I want to present these. So the first one, in no particular order, Free Fallin' by John Mayer. The
Oh,
original was
good
by
choice.
Tom Petty. Which I didn't even realize until I was older. Sorry, Tom Petty or Tom Petty fans. Such a good cover that I think it's become more well known than the
Hmm.
OG. My next one is Summer Love by Chelsea Cutler, which is a
Good
Justin
song.
Timberlake cover that's
Mm.
really stripped down and just it was one of my top played songs on Spotify last year.
This is
It's
gonna
very,
ruin the
very good.
tour.
It will ruin the tour. My next one is, I think, my favorite cover of all time, which is Rihanna's "Same Old Mistakes" covering
Oh,
Tame Impala. Just an incredible cover
yes.
of a song that I also enjoy, but just, oh man, it just takes it and turns it up to 10.
Quick question for you.
Uh,
Do you think it's
yeah,
better when the cover is better of a song that you are kind of mid on or like don't really even like if you like the cover, or is it better when the cover's better but the original song is also a banger?
I think on it. That's a great question, Jesse. Because I'm inclined to say the second one because then
Yeah.
that's two songs I like. But
Right.
I think I'm gonna go with the first one. I think it's more impactful to me when somebody takes a song that I don't really fuck with, and
Yeah.
now I'm like sitting straight up in my chair, like, okay, wait a minute.
That's
I think
doing
I'm gonna
time
go.
for me because the original is just hooting and hollering to me. It's just noise.
Yes, I sorry, Tom Petty. That's kind of how I feel about his Free Fall, and it just sounds like a lesser version of. Like, it doesn't move the needle for me. But then John Mayer's is, oh, it's so good. And a little bit of Summer Love by Justin Timberlake is just such a weird song.
Yeah.
Um, Sonically, that I think the stripped acoustic version that Chelsea does just is better. Okay, so I have two left. Couldn't let this segment go without mentioning "House of the Rising Sun" by Dolly Parton. Rest in
Yes.
power, Queen. Original by Bob Dylan. Actually, a lot of different versions of "House of the Rising Sun" that I considered. Lizzie McAlpine has a really good
Hmm.
one. It's a little more modern, but I had to give the hat tip to Dolly. And because you knew that any form of the playlist game, I was going to have to show up with Lana Del Rey. I came strapped with two options, Jesse, just in case. You took Doing Time, so I'm going to go with Take Me Home Country Roads by Lana Del Rey,
Great version.
of
Great
course,
version.
covering John Denver. Can I give a couple honorable mentions?
It's our podcast. We can do what we want.
So, one of my honorable mentions is a song, a true cover, "Give a Little Bit" by the Goo Goo Dolls,
Love that version of it.
Of Supertramp. And then I also had a couple where I had three here that I almost picked. It's just because they're songs that I don't think people know are covers.
Hmm.
So the first, "Killing Me Softly" was with his song Lauryn Hill, the Fugees, is actually a song it's a cover of a cover.
Oh.
The OG was written and released by Lori Lieberman, but the much more well-known original is Roberta Flack in 1974 because she won a Grammy for it.
Oh.
And then the Fugees and Lauryn Hill covered that, which and their version is honestly probably the most well known.
Yeah.
Big Yellow Taxi by Counting Crows and
Hmm.
Vanessa Carlton is actually a Joni Mitchell
I
cover.
do know. I did know that one. I didn't know the first one, but I did know that one.
And then the Jonas Brothers' Year 3000 is also a
Hmm.
cover of a band called Busted. That I learned today.
Nice. Very nice. Excellent. Those are some really good songs that we actually picked. That's one of our better ones, I
Yeah.
think. All right, this next one, we're going to do a standard draft, and I
This
will give you
was
the
hard
first pick. I'll give you the first pick since I stole
since
doing
you stole
time.
Doing Time.
So, standard draft for this one, we're going to get 5 picks, no snakes, so we're just going boom, 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 alternating. For this one, it is the 5 most satisfying trivial things. So the example that I gave Ben on this one was when you're cutting wrapping paper and the scissors just glide, like you hit that flow state as you go, and it just
Good.
glides right across. So Ben,
And my
what?
wife would like to point out that you hate wrapping gifts. So it's weird that you included this as an example.
Uh,
Is that the only way you to derive joy for you from the what did you call it? Like a farce or no? It was
it might
sad
be
little
the only
game. I
way
think is
to.
what you called it.
I think it's the only way to. I was in a dark place in December. Okay,
I think you called it a sad little game that we all play.
I did. We should roll the tape. Roll the tape.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hey, producer.
We gotta go back. We gotta review this one. You know, I have contradicted myself a few times on this podcast. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm not a hypocrite at this
It's
point.
not the worst thing somebody has said here, Jesse. Remember, I believed in the Mets.
Yeah.
Could always be worse. Okay.
This is also a podcast in which I signed off on an expansion minor league baseball team called the Long Beach Junior Bacon Cheeseburgers. So
Yeah, you were really proud of that one.
things have been. Hey, that was one of the best clips in our pod's history. You can't even pretend like it was.
Most satisfying. I'll start. Jesse's magnanimously given me the start. I'm going to go with pick 1-1. The sound of a soda can cracking open.
Oh,
Something about it scratches my brain in the right way.
it's a good one. It's a good one. All right. This one is oddly specific. Okay. Imagine middle of June, New York City. You spent the whole day going across, subway surfing, seeing the sights, trying good food. You come back to your hotel, right? You got the stench of the city on you, you're a little sweaty. The hot shower after a day in New York hits differently.
This fucking guy.
Absolutely hits differently more than anything. I feel like a new person. I feel reborn. And that's fair, Cheyenne. It is an excuse for me to bring this up.
I literally, Jesse had to bring up New York somehow.
Literally, Ashlyn and I talked about this the other day. I'm like, you know what sounds so good right now? Just like a hot post New York shower.
It's preposterous. Well, that shockingly was not on my list. So my second pick is gonna be when you first get under like comfy blankets and you're getting into bed for the night.
Kind of kick your little feet.
When everything's before you get hot or uncomfy, like when you just slide right under and you're like, you can't even help it. You let in like the like that hits.
I'm here for that. Alrighty, my second pick. Give me stopping gas on a perfectly round amount. Like you're sitting there, you're like, I'm waiting for 30. You let go, and it's just right on 30. And you're like, you're looking around, making sure everyone's watching you. And you're like, yeah, I'm him.
That's a good one. I can't believe I'm getting this here for my third pick, but I'm gonna go with the song ending as you pull into the driveway.
Oh, good timing. Good timing. I love that one. I can't believe I'm getting this one with my third pick. Stepping on a dry, crunchy leaf, like a big one. Like right under your shoe, right. You hear the.
Yeah, that is a satisfying noise. Ironically, Jesse, I have as a slight variation on that, but I have cracking ice or the crunching of snow.
Ooh, that's a good one. Like
freshly, which is just aggressively Midwestern and not for our local climate, but is the winter version of that.
Did you watch the Menards remix I sent you earlier?
Where did you send me a Menards remix?
In our group chat, our texting group chat.
On the phone? No, yes. I saw it, but I was at work. And believe it or not, Jesse, I can't just be bumping the Menards remix at the office. But I will give it a listen when we're done.
It's worth your time, I promise. My fourth pick. Give me the little static noise when the needle drops on a vinyl and you got it hooked up to the speaker. That little.
That's a good one. When you know Iris is about to start. When you got P loading up. All right, my last pick is I need you to walk with me. Okay?
I'm walking.
You know when you were younger, like in elementary school, and you would do like crafts at school, and you use like Elmer's glue, and then it would like stick to your fingers and just peeling it off? Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever just do your whole hand and just...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the best. Alrighty, I got a few...
Yeah, okay. I have 2 honorable mentions.
I'll do my honorable mentions after then too. Um, you wake up 3 a.m. Mouth dry
I
as a
hate it already.
desert. Mouth dry as a desert. You reach over, you got a nice crisp cup of water that you left there right before you fell asleep. You go over, you take a big old gulp of that ice cold water at 3 a.m. Nothing is better.
Okay. I have some how is your glass still but is your glass really still cold at 3 a.m.?
Don't worry about it.
Also, what you're in the scenario, you know what? That's I'll let you have it. My two honorable mentions, hilarious that neither of us took like what probably would be the betting favorite to be picked in this, which is bubble wrap,
I have it on
which
my
I do,
list.
which I do enjoy, but I was like, it's overplayed. And then pressure washing, something about it just
Oh
scratches a
yeah.
man itch in my brain of
You
like
ever play
that.
the
It's just so
game?
sad.
The
Oh,
pow
pressure wash simulator?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or power wash simulator? Yeah. I was actually telling Cheyenne about that after because her stepdad came over and helped us pressure wash. And I was like, I get it. Like, because I was watching him do it, and
Mhm.
every now and then, not often enough to like really say that I play it, but every now and then I power it on and do like a level, and I'm like, yeah, that's nice.
I almost took my little toe off with a pressure washer when we owned our house down south. And I was just sitting there holding it, and I accidentally just like bumped the little trigger on it, and it chewed off. I had a flip flop on it, chewed off the side of the flip flop right next to my little toe, and I was like, well, that
That's
that could
crazy.
have
I
been
also love that you said when we
catastrophic.
had our house down south, as if you don't still live in Orlando, Florida.
Right? It was further south. I mean, I'm just giving
It was
directions.
further south. You didn't say anything wrong. I just think it's funny.
All right, my honorable mentions here. Just Friday nights in general. That feeling of like low key. Sometimes Friday night is a better feeling than Saturday day, just because you're the anticipation of the weekend coming up.
Hmm.
Um, I said making the group laugh. You're with a group of friends. You're able to get everyone to laugh at the same time. That's a very
Yeah,
satisfying feeling. I know you and I work on that quite a bit. And
I know your
then
feeling.
recently I have found I thoroughly enjoy scraping off a hot griddle with the griddle that I bought.
Okay, yeah.
Getting some water, spraying it on there, the steam comes up, and you scrape it off. Super satisfying.
I wanna go back to two of yours because I considered similar answers. So I think that's funny. I considered the feeling of leaving the office knowing you're not coming back the
Uh
next
huh.
day,
Yep.
and
Same
then
concept.
getting everybody in the group chat to laugh react to your
Yep.
text, which is
If you can
basically
do it
the
on
the
if you can
text
do it on
version of
Teams, if you can do it on
oh, it's
Microsoft Teams,
undefeated.
oh my gosh, you do it on Teams. I'm walking around the hallways. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you saw me, you saw me.
I go in and I ask for a raise. I'm like, clear. Here's my work. I enhance office culture. I am office culture.
All right, our last game, and then we'll do the takeout. This one's more just fun more than anything else. The mascot draft. I honestly can't believe we haven't done this yet, considering all things.
It's
This
kind of
is
surprising. I thought we had, and then I was like, I guess not.
Yeah, this is the 25th official episode of the pod. And yeah, we're just gonna do a simple 5 pick standard draft, best mascots in sports. I'll go ahead and take the first on this one. And this is tough. This is
As
tough.
long as you don't fuck me here, then this is okay.
I'm gonna take Gritty, the Philadelphia
Oh
Flyers
my
mascot.
god,
I'm
I was so
taking
worried.
I'm taking Gritty. He's psychotic. He threatens a Pittsburgh Penguins mascot on Twitter. He is utterly terrifying. He knocks down children on the ice sometimes. I gotta take Gritty.
Gritty is a great choice, but I had a very clear and obvious number one choice, and that's Mrs. Met for obvious reasons, and I will not answer any further questions. And, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't really feel like answering further questions about it, but Mrs. Met, not Mr. Met, specifically Mrs. Met. I
You
say
kill me.
that with confidence, knowing that my wife still loves and accepts me in the same room. She's not even listening. It's great. Makes it better.
Okay, sure. Uh, second pick. I think I'm getting extremely good value here. Give me the Philly Fanatic. For all the same reasons why I'm sure you picked Mrs. Met. But
Yeah,
yeah, Philly
for sure.
Fanatic. 100% all the way.
That's interesting. Both of your choices are like conventional wisdom would say they should be on here. Jesse, I took kind of a different approach with my mascot list. Um, I would like Otto the Orange here.
Oh, I love Otto.
Otto the Orange should not exist because he's a sin against God and man, and that's why I have to have him here at pick 2. If you folks are unfamiliar with Otto the Orange at home, I would encourage you to Google Otto the Orange.
With safe search
It
on
has
or
to be done.
off?
Safe search on for sure. Do not do that. Do not make the mistake I did. It's like trying to get to the Dick's Sporting Goods website when you're young. Don't try to find Otto the Orange with safe search off. A lot of Rule 34 there.
Um. All right, my third pick. Give me the Stanford Tree, also an abomination.
Oh, I was between Stanford Tree and Otto the Orange. I knew
Absolute abomination. Again, it looks
Speaking of
like
things that should not exist.
it looks like something that crawled out of the Chernobyl disaster. Easy pick number 3 for me. I'm putting together an Avengers-esque team of mascots here.
My in fun subplot is Cheyenne in the background looking up these mascots she just doesn't know and going, "Oh God!" when she sees them. Yeah, the Stanford Tree is bad. But you know who's even worse is Xavier University's Blue Blob, who
Oh
I'm
my
taking here
gosh.
at pick round 3. Truly just heinous. I cannot believe that this is a mascot that they just like included. But easy choice here for me, round 3.
Alrighty. My fourth pick. Give me Sammy the Banana Slug from UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The actual cartoon version of him, pretty cute. Not bad. The mascot of him when he walks out, utterly terrifying.
Yeah,
Did
I
she
think
say yikes?
she did. Um, that's a great choice, Jesse. I cannot believe the value I'm getting here in round 4, but give me Izzy, the 1996 Atlanta Olympics mascot. Um, again, very similar. The cartoon version of Izzy looks great. In reality, diseased. Kill it with fire.
You're
Put
calling
a
it
fork in
disease.
that
You're
guy.
bringing up the '96 Olympics mascot.
I'm sorry, buddy, but if you've seen, have you seen Izzy?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm taking Izzy. It's just a no-brainer for me.
Okay. Um, what are we on now? Pick 5.
This is your last pick.
All right. Give me Big Red from Western Kentucky University. He looks like one of
That's a good
the
one.
McDonald's characters, but is not allowed within 30 yards of a playground. Utterly
Yeah.
terrifying looking individual.
He is the more mainstream version of Xavier's Blue Blob.
Correct.
So for my last pick, I'm sorry. I can't believe I have several, as I'm sure
I
you
do
can
too.
imagine,
I
honorable mentions. Um, Only one of which is really like legitimate. Jesse and I took very different approaches here. Give me Hip Hop, the retired 1976ers mascot. Jesse, are you familiar with Hip Hop?
I'm about to be put on game. I'm looking this up right now.
Yeah, so look up Hip Hop. And for those of you at home, Hip Hop is basically just like this dude wearing a bunny suit. It's just and so it's just the same concept as like a Pacers boomer, right? Where it's this big mascot doing these dunks, but it's straight up just a guy with like bunny ears. It's like truly one of the more frightening things that I've ever seen in my entire life. Can you imagine waiting in line as a child and there's just this like 6'3", 225 yoked bunny with these like they didn't even like give him like anything to make him look like a rabbit other than the ears.
There's a
It's just like a
picture of him I
guy.
just saw. It looks like he's like sitting in the air about to dunk a basketball.
Yeah, it's like the Notre Dame leprechaun, but there's bunny ears. Like it just should not exist.
All right. Let's get into some honorable mentions here. This one is not sports, so I did not put it on the list because I did say sports mascots, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring this one up. Take a journey with me to Enterprise, Alabama, and the
Okay.
McDonald's that is there.
Yeah, Hamburglar.
They
Yeah, it's got to be Hamburglar, right?
They have a Ronald McDonald
Oh, pretty.
statue, but
I
it is
need it.
a boll weevil version of Ronald McDonald, and it
Oh
needs to be killed with fire if you've never seen it.
a boll weevil,
Yep,
Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald boll weevil. It is as awful as it sounds.
Good God Almighty! Why would anyone do this? Not the McWeevil. You know what? For a second, I thought you were going with Hamburglar or Grimace, and I was gonna be
No,
like, no, those are legitimately good masks. Happy birthday, Grimace. But the McWeevil is insane. Yeah, did you see the Enterprise just added a new
no,
Hamburglar
they
Weevil?
didn't.
This
No,
was
they didn't.
last year, Jesse. This was last Thanksgiving.
Oh no, they must be stopped.
And
What
their
is going?
Enterprise celebrated the opening of its second McDonald's restaurant this past Wednesday with a new Weevil statue. The Hamburglar Weevil statue became the 35th
Nah,
addition to the Enterprise Weevil Way Community Art Project and the
absolutely
second
not.
McDonald's themed Weevil. Shout out AL.com, source of news.
Alrighty, more honorable mentions for you.
Yeah, so I had one legitimate, which is I think probably the best mascot of all time, which is the famous chicken from the San Diego Padres.
Oh yes,
So well known of a mascot that like he just like that he's not even really the Padres mascot anymore. He just like tours, and we saw him a couple times at like Indianapolis Indians games as a kid. Like really the reason there's a mascot Hall of Fame, honestly, is this mascot. Which by the way, did you know Boomer's in the mascot Hall of Fame?
I did. Yeah, I also just
It's
found
got
out
to be jumping from the ceiling.
Fred Bird from the Cardinals just got inducted pretty recently.
So I had the
Also,
chicken.
I had a couple more legitimate ones too. I had Blue, the Colts mascot.
Yeah, I had blue, but in parentheses, it's just for being a menace to children.
He really is. The Oregon Duck is also a menace to society. An excellent mascot. Uh, and then I really wanted to give a shout out to the Washington Nationals presidents, specifically the Thomas Jefferson one, because he is the most terrifying of the four. But
It's
they
haunting.
always have their president races, and it just brings me so much joy.
I had Raymond Ray from the Tampa Bay Rays because he does not look like a ray in the slightest. He looks like a walrus. I'll also kill it with fire. Stuff the Magic Dragon
I
from
love stuff.
the Orlando Magic. Honestly, just because that's an incredible name. The Spurs Coyote, whose eyes have seen horrors the human mind can't comprehend, but is also absolutely lethal, taking out bats. What's up, honey? Which mascot? That is their mascot.
That
Yeah, I
is their
promise
mascot.
you, there are worse costumes than that one. Um, and then I would be remiss if I did not mention Mr. Nightmare Fuel himself, Purdue Pete.
Purdue Pete is very much nightmare fuel. My last one that I had on my list was Jazz Bear. He also looks like he's been through the ringer a few times. Just in the face more than anything. Pretty scary individual.
I technically have one more, but I fundamentally don't agree with his existence, so I hate bringing him up. But Freddy Fever needs to die. I'm sorry. Have you ever? Yeah, are you familiar with Freddy Fever?
Brother, I'm a Fever fan. Of
Somebody
course, I'm familiar with Freddy.
somebody created Freddy Fever and was like, "This is what children will want to see." And for those of you at home who don't know, this is Freddy Fever.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a sleep paralysis demon.
Should not exist.
Alrighty, let's head to the takeout. Ben, I actually only have one this week.
I have four,
Four.
but
All
I
right,
can be quick.
go ahead.
Okay. Two of them are pretty quick. Troy, don't eat your foot, buddy. I'm sorry. I wanted to acknowledge the University of West Florida. Hat tip to my wife who pointed this out. They are playing their first Division One football game ever tonight.
We
We now
love
live
that.
in a team or in a town that has Division One NCAA football.
That's
They
awesome.
played Southern Illinois. I'm trying to pull up a score here. Um, I'm having not a lot of luck. Believe it or not, they're not on the homepage of ESPN.
How dare they?
They are winning 27-24 with 7.5 to play
All
here.
right, get that first
Southern
W.
Illinois. So shout out to the Argonauts joining Division One. We don't need to talk. We're so far from this movie, and we'll have other opportunities with longer segments to talk about it. I've kind of reached a point with Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, where I'm trying to just set aside. I had to do this to ultimately enjoy Age of Ultron because the Ultron in the movie is actually really well done, but it's just nothing like actual Ultron. And so I've decided with Doomsday, I have to put aside the travesty that they're going to make of the Secret Wars and Time Runs Out storylines and just enjoy the movie for what it is as a different version. Um, and I also have to just I've chosen to believe that they're only showing us a limited like setting of the movie in trailers because they want to make a good trailer and not that the movie looks like a green screen slop field at all times. But if they can build this thing out of the most recent full length trailer for Doomsday, it was built out entirely out of hype moments and aura, and most of them worked for me. So I've chosen to. I have not been the most enthused about this movie, but I'm choosing to go in with a more open heart.
Okay. I like to hear that. I actually lied. I do have two. There was one thing I wanted to bring up. Um, and the first one is I wanted to give a shout to Columbia High School from Huntsville, Alabama. They won a football game for the first time since October of
Oh yeah,
2015, ending a 101 consecutive loss streak, which was the longest in the country. That's a brutal, brutal amount. There are generations
and
of
they spanked
kids.
them too. They won that
Oh
game
yeah,
going away. It was like
it was
40-13 or something.
41-14 at the end of it was the final. And there were so many classes that went their entire time without seeing a single win. That is extremely tough, especially in the South where football does mean so much. Just wanted to give a shout out to them for still fielding a team, for going out there and putting it together to get a W. That is a legendary moment for that school that they will not forget anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a great shout, Jesse. 11 years is like just an eternity in high school football. I mean, you put that's almost three full classes coming and going between football wins. So I saw that also, and that's a great shout.
Righty. You got more?
Yeah, I'll go with another one. I feel like as a podcast that is as pro women as we are, we have to talk about the good ad with the Callaway driver.
Mhm.
Super gross.
Yep.
Um, there's no play. You can advertise golf, and I think it's really just. I don't want to spend a ton of time giving them a lot of oxygen or going too deep into it, but it's just to me like a microcosm of the whole like bro environment that Barstool has created, where it's like it's cool and it's funny and like oh like get your hands off my driver or whatever, but it's just inherently deeply misogynistic and scary and frightening. And they just lost their Callaway partnership today, and their stuff is getting pulled from a lot of stores, and I've seen some discourse about like, all right guys, I feel like this is too far. I don't think so. I think I saw this argument online and I was like, I've never agreed with anything more of sure it's not just like, even if you want to put aside the morality of it, it's very clear that they can't be trusted. Like they put this together and it submitted it as their ad and just ran it. And so as a partner you can't trust their judgment on their advertising. And I believe 100% even if you stripped the morality out of it, their consequences are justified. And then when you factor in that, yeah, just as Cheyenne just pointed out in the chat, that you're making domestic violence the joke, 100%. Get that shit. That's like a
No.
we did the 1 through 5 earlier. That's a 10. Get
Yeah.
nuke that shit off the planet.
And we had this conversation in our chat about the Target incident with the racist Halloween costume, which is a whole other can of worms of mess and how
Yes.
any of that happens. But these things in corporate America don't happen by accident. They don't happen
Right.
by accident. Neither one of us really work in corporate America, but we work, within organizations that it takes a lot of steps and a lot of eyes. And there were enough people that said we're good on this one. This is not a single person decision,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Callaway can backtrack and do all these things all they want to. They can pull back and be like, "This is not who we are." No, it is who you are. It clearly
You
is
approved
who
it.
you are. You've proven that because there are multiple people along the way. And
This isn't like an intern firing off a tweet.
no, no, this isn't a one off thing. This is a produced, edited, viewed over and over again situation. And while I feel like we have come and made strides with women's sports in recent years, this just goes to show that we still have so much more to do. So many more things that we need to accomplish before we're even close to something that represents equality. And it's just disheartening. It's disheartening,
Yeah.
because I do feel like there are enough people like us who understand this. Um but in addition, it's going to take men not being silent about it and actually doing something about it
Hmm.
to make other men take it seriously. And that's what needs to happen. It's disappointing isn't the right word for it. It's maddening. And that's
Yeah.
how we should react to it.
I agree 100%, Jesse. All right, you said you had one more. I have one more too. You go next.
Yes. Cannot talk about this pod and talk about this week without mentioning, and I know we talked about her a little bit earlier, but the passing of Dolly Parton. Um we need to have a separate time to talk about her here just because of how special she was. I mean, she was truly the closest thing this country has ever had to a monarch that we actually would have liked. And I truly think one of the best people that this country has ever produced, top to bottom. I think she was so incredible. Just obviously her artistry and the music that she made is beyond multi generational, incredible stuff. But what we lost more than anything was the person. I think is going to be impossible to replace. It's possible shoes for anyone to try to step into, and I don't think it's fair to ask of anyone because she was one of a kind. But the thing that's always has stuck with me about Dolly Parton is just the compassion that she had for everybody, and there were no
Hmm.
strings attached to that compassion. And as an educator, as a literacy educator, watching literacy be under attack in so many different ways, and the literacy rates across the world are starting to suffer. Um, in an era that we have access to more things and resources to have this than ever before, absolutely blows my mind. But Dolly single-handedly turning around her hometown of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, being able to increase the graduation rates and decrease the dropout rate, increase literacy rates across the board. Um, her foundation has donated hundreds of millions of books of no charge to students and to
Hmm.
children up to the age of 5. There are so many kids in this country who don't even know her for her music. They know her as the book lady, and that was her nickname. She was the book lady to so many people. And Cheyenne hit the nail on the head. She did what the South needs so badly. So many states don't want to invest in education. They don't want to invest in the next generation, and she did that. She didn't just say, "Hey, we should do this" and throw a little money at it. She put boots onto the ground and made it happen. And she's one of the most special people we've ever had. And also want to give a shout to Tim Curry as well, who passed away, who incredible performer in his own right. Just tough seeing the legends go. Tough seeing the legends go for
Hmm.
sure.
Peter Cullen also. I don't know if you saw that, but he
Yes, Optimus
passed today
Prime.
too.
Yes.
Optimus Prime, Eeyore, a couple other roles that he's known for. I think I don't want to like beat a dead horse. I think you really nailed the Dolly Parton portion. She just is an example of what the idealistic version of capitalism is supposed to look like in a society where people use their success to also do good. You know, she had a lot of success and was a very wealthy individual, and she used a lot of that wealth to give back to people who didn't have that opportunity. You know, the Imagination Library, it goes without speaking, but and you already highlighted that. But she also, the Dollywood Foundation has supported so many organizations. Dolly herself, employees at Dollywood, she will pay for like their tuition, and books. She's been paying. She's funded a lot of high school bands and their uniforms, stuff like that. Medical research. She donated $1 million towards um, COVID vaccine
The Moderna vaccine's the one
research,
I got.
disaster relief, animal welfare. She's always been a strong voice in supporting the LGBTQ plus community as well. Just a real, like a perfect example of what you should do when you're in a position to make a difference for others, and just to be open and understanding and caring and loving of everybody regardless of their situations. I think our country struggles a lot with celebrity worship and parasocialization, but I think that if you're going to do that for anybody, Dolly Parton was a great choice because she actually gave a shit about other people
And
and
for
did
me,
what she needed to.
for me being a Christian, she feels like to me what the embodiment of a Christian should be. Um,
Mhm.
and leading with love and leading with all of these different things and being outspoken about it. Not doing things behind a closed door, and it makes me want to be a better person. Um, and still gives me hope that that's out there. Still gives me hope that there are people who believe similarly to me in that aspect of that we are supposed to be the hands and feet, that we are supposed to be going out there and being service to others, and just embodying that. And Cheyenne, again, hitting the nail on the head, all with her nails and hair done, sparkles on, a smile on her face. So rest in peace, Dolly. I know you made it up there, and just thank you for showing us all the example of what we can be when we're at our best.
Absolutely, 100%. My last takeout, a little bit of a different note. Um, Kelsey Mitchell is a very distant third in WNBA MVP voting. Asia Wilson is an overwhelming favorite to win her fifth
Hmm.
MVP award, and she's had a magical season. Olivia Miles is in second, just an incredible transcendent rookie season.
Hmm.
I feel, and I know I'm biased, but what Kelsey Mitchell is doing is insane. She has a new WNBA record for 20 plus point games in a row that she just continues to extend. She, the way that she's grown, the volume and efficiency at which she's scoring with, and the load that she's carrying for a Fever team that, Caitlin Clark has been really great, and so has Aaliyah Boston, but like Caitlyn has her nights where she's not very efficient or she's missed some time, and Aaliyah's missed some time as well, and you got to cover for Sophie Cunningham out there. Just the load that Kelsey Mitchell is carrying, and that the way that her game has just continued to evolve over her career. I was there in one of her very first seasons, and she was a fine player, but didn't even really show this level of ability.
Hmm.
And again, Asia is having a monster season. Olivia Miles also having an
Yeah,
amazing
neither one of them
season.
are bad choices, but yeah.
Neither one of I just it feels Kelsey will at least be first team all W, and that I guess will have to be enough. But just an incredible season that she's having, truly.
And absolutely, I'm glad you brought her up. My question to you is, okay, and this has nothing to do with Caitlin's game, at all. She's an incredible player. We're both pro Caitlin Clark people here. If she wasn't on Caitlin's team, if Kelsey was on a different team, and even with the media circus that's been following Sophie lately, um, do you think Kelsey would be getting more love if she played away from what the Fever kind of
Yes,
have
hundred
become?
percent,
Yeah, I agree with that.
100%. I mean, I don't I think that, and it's not even just a media attention situation. Kelsey's the second leading scorer in the league behind Asia. Caitlyn is third, right? Caitlyn is as deserving of MVP recognition. I just think for consistency purposes, Kelsey is just
I agree.
and the issue for Kelsey and why she's not going to win the MVP is that she just doesn't really do a whole lot other than score the basketball, but she scores it at such an insanely efficient rate. I mean, she's again second in the league in scoring, shooting 51% from the field and
Cooking.
45.5% from three. She
45.5% is insane.
is matching. Last season was her second lowest turnover rate of her career. She's matching that, right, despite a usage rate that's astronomical. Um, and she's grabbing less than 2 boards a game, and she's only dropping about 3 assists. that's why she's not going to win
Yeah,
MVP. Is she just doesn't have any of the
she's
other
got
statistics,
buckets,
but
but
she is just having such a great season that we had to acknowledge it as Fever fans.
yeah, absolutely.
And just truly like an incredible growth. Asia Wilson came in like she was that bitch. Olivia Miles was that bitch in her draft class. That was not Kelsey Mitchell.
No, she
That
had to
was
work for that.
she was the number 2 pick in her draft, but she was not seen as this like and she was an incredibly prolific scorer
Mhm.
in college, but she was not seen as like she's going to be a top 4 player in the league,
Right.
and she is right
Yeah, she absolutely is. Well, I think that does it for our pod. Next time we get on, man, we need to get back onto the college football stream because I know you've been running. I know you know my quarterback transfer, my 5-star quarterback transfer is sitting
now.
there
All
waiting
right.
for you on the other end of that.
I invited you the other night and you said, "No, Tim and Steph are here."
I had to cook fajitas for the
Tim, he
in-laws.
used you to hide. I just need you to know that.
Hey, you're the one that's been running. You're the one that's been running from Reggie Wayne, and yes, that is his actual name.
That is his name. I'm pretty sure I beat you in the championship last time we played,
Who's
did I
got the
not?
natties?
Me. Didn't
No,
I
I
win
got.
you? Beat you in the
No, you beat me in the
No, I
playoff.
beat you and then lost the natty. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I got
Okay.
2 natties.
Well, it won't be next week, Jesse, because I'll be in Atlanta all week for a work conference. But maybe the week after we'll run some.
Sounds good. I think I can make that happen.
All right, that's gonna do it for us tonight, folks. Thanks for sticking with us. You just heard there's probably not going to be a pod next week, but we'll figure something out after that, and then I'm actually out of the country the week after that, so a little spotty here in September. But we'll in 2 weeks maybe we'll do some NFL preview. I'm sure before
This
the season
boy's
starts.
running.
Probably recorded after the weird Wednesday night opener, but we'll figure it out, and we'll be back in action.
Alrighty, peace out,
We are
y'all.
going to
Thanks for
Mexico.
tuning
We're
in.
going to the land of avocados.
Woo! Take me with. Have a good night, y'all.